This whole explainer is built around one of the most incredible images in modern thought, one that comes from an essay by Laszlo Feldani. Just listen to this. Yeah, say that out loud. Dostoevsky reads Hegel in Siberia and bursts into tears. It's like every single word in that sentence comes from a completely different planet, right? You've got the master novelist of human suffering, stuck at the frozen edge of the world, and then you've got the philosopher of pure, ice-cold, systematic reason. So when those two worlds collide, it just raises this massive question, the one we're going to try and unpack here. Why? Why would a book all about perfect logic make a man who's living through absolute pointless suffering just break down and cry? Okay, to even begin to answer that, we have to go there. We have to go to Siberia. We need to get a feel for where Dostoevsky is, not just physically on a map, but, where he is in his soul. So, picture this. It's 1854, Semipalatinsk, southern Siberia. And it's not the snowy wonderland you might imagine. It's this bleak, sandy desert. Dostoevsky's been forced into the army here, right after 4 years of hard labor. He's living in this tiny, low-ceilinged room in a town full of exiles. This isn't just some place on a map. It's a state of mind. It's a world built on suffering that makes absolutely no sense, totally cut off from all the big ideas about progress that are buzzing back in Europe. And then into this total wasteland comes a book. And not just any book. This book is the complete polar opposite of everything Dostoevsky is living through. So, what's this book? It's Hegel. And Hegel's philosophy, man, it's like the final boss of Enlightenment thinking. The core idea is that history isn't just a bunch of random stuff happening. No, it's a single, logical story. He called it the world spirit figuring itself out. Every war, every empire, everything that's ever happened, it all fits neatly into this grand, perfect system. In Hegel's world, there are no accidents. There's no such thing as pointless suffering. Everything has a purpose in this perfect, rational plan. And right there, you see the clash, right? It's just so stark. Hegel's world is this perfect, rational machine where everything is lit up by the light of reason, all moving towards some perfect end. But Dostoevsky's world, Siberia, it's a place where suffering is the only rule, and it has no reason at all. It's a shadowland, completely outside of history, just spinning its wheels in despair. It's like Hegel hands you a perfect blueprint of a city, but you're stranded in a desert that isn't even on the map. So here's the kicker. What happens to all the stuff that doesn't fit on that perfect map? Well, Hegel has an answer, and honestly, it's chilling. To make his beautiful system work, he basically says that history is beyond things like good and evil, justice, morality. It's beyond, as the essay says, everything that we designate life. Think about that. For the system to be whole, the messy, painful, real-life experience of one guy, a prisoner in Siberia, it just has to be ignored. It has to be erased. Okay, so if we're erasing stuff, what exactly are we throwing out? What gets shoved into the shadows of this perfectly lit world of reason? This was a huge fear at the time. The whole promise of the Enlightenment was that we could shine a rational light on everything, solve every mystery. But what if some things just don't want to be illuminated? What happens to them then? Well, here's what lives in the shadows. Things like melancholy. That feeling of being broken, fragmented, the irrational things we do, suffering that serves no purpose, and just mystery itself. All the stuff that pure reason looks at and just short circuits. It can't file them away neatly. They're the broken pieces that mess up the perfect puzzle. And the romantics, they were terrified of this. They looked at this project to get rid of all the shadows and said, wait a minute. They argued that if you succeed, you don't get a perfect world. You get a flat one, a world with no depth, no soul, nothing genuinely meaningful. Because here's the thing about shadows. When you try to pretend they're not there, when you push them down, they don't just disappear. Oh no, they fester, and they come roaring back as monsters. Just think about Frankenstein's monster. He is the ultimate monster of reason. He's literally stitched together from the rejected scraps of life, dead parts from morgues and slaughterhouses. He is the direct result of a rational scientist, Victor Frankenstein, trying to conquer life and death, but refusing to deal with the messy, broken, imperfect reality of it. The monster's questions, who was I? What was I? Those are the cries of everything that's been cast out. But this isn't just a spooky story. The argument here is that society itself, in its drive for a purely rational world, created its own kind of monster. what's called the modern mass. This isn't just a crowd of people. It's a crowd of disconnected, isolated individuals who've been taught there's no mystery, no soul. So they start looking at the living, breathing world as just dead stuff, raw material to be dominated and controlled. So you see the link, right? Frankenstein's monster and the modern mass. They're both children of the same parent. They are born from a worldview that cannot stand imperfection, that denies its own broken pieces in this relentless quest for total control. And where does this obsession with control go? Well, it turns on the one thing we have left, our own bodies. The essay traces this terrifying progression. Step 1, you try to control the body through social rules. Think of Lord Chesterfield writing endless instructions to his son on how to have a well-bred body, basically turning him into a perfect social robot. Step 2, you inscribe the body. Society's rules get literally tattooed onto the skin. And the final, horrifying step, you punish the body. Like in Kafka's story In the Penal Colony, where a machine literally carves the law into a prisoner's flesh until he dies. It's brutal. So, wow, how do we escape this nightmare of reason? Well, to find the answer, we have to go all the way back to that little hut in Siberia, back to Dostoevsky's tears. Because here's the twist. Those tears, they weren't just tears of sadness or despair. When Dostoevsky was confronted with Hegel's perfect, clockwork, and let's be honest, soulless universe, something else happened. He had a profound revelation. In that moment, he saw with crystal clarity everything that Hegel's perfect system left out. He saw the truth and the power of the world in the shadows. I mean, listen to what he wrote later in his life. It's unbelievable. It was a great happiness for me, Siberia and the forced labor. A great happiness? How? Because it was there, in the absolute pit of pointless suffering, when he had nothing left, that he found everything that mattered. He didn't find redemption by escaping his pain. He found meaning by going straight through it. He found it not in a perfect system, but in the raw experience of being broken. And this gets us to the absolute heart of Feldani's essay, this idea he calls atheistic religiosity. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Think of it as that deep feeling of awe, that sense of the sacred that people used to find only in organized religion, but finding it now in a secular world, without a god. It's about discovering that profound meaning, not in some divine plan up in the sky, but right here, in the cracks, the shadows, and the unexplainable mysteries of our own lives. You know that famous painting, Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog by Caspar David Friedrich? That's the feeling. It's that sublime, overwhelming sense of confronting something vast, mysterious, and so much bigger than you are. And even though the quote here mentions God, you can think of it as just surrendering your ego to, well, to anything larger, to nature, to the universe, to the simple, profound mystery of being alive. It's in that moment when you finally admit, I can't explain everything. That's when a much deeper kind of meaning rushes in. So that really leaves us with one last question to chew on. Today, we're all obsessed with data, with getting the right answer, with having a complete explanation for everything. But Dostoevsky, crying in Siberia over a book of perfect logic, he forces us to ask ourselves, in our rush to light up every single corner of the world, what incredible power, what deep human wisdom do we lose when we forget how important the shadows really are?